90% of birth moms would keep their child if they had as little as $5,000. It was
Mm-hmm.
closed adoption. I didn't have contact with the family outside of a picture a couple of times that they sent through the adoption agency. And it was a public adoption agency by choice. I had some really weird experiences in my church and even the public school I went to where people were trying to adopt my baby, offering me money to
Mm-hmm.
adopt my baby. That just skeeved me out. I literally threw up the first time.
Yeah,
Someone offered me $10,000. I'm like, that's not what this is about.
that's insane.
And so I went to the yellow pages at the time and I found the public adoption agency, which was Children's Home Society. I called them and I'm like, how much do you charge parents to adopt a baby? And they're like, we don't.
Yes.
They pay for a $500 home study and that's it. I said,
Mm-hmm.
good, that's what I want. And that's a whole nother conversation is I do feel that adoptive parents are also being exploited in this process financially.
Yeah.
I hate that babies are this commodity. It's awful. So I have reunited with my child. I searched for them and found them um,
Great.
about a decade ago. We have a really good relationship, though it's also been a really painful
Mm-hmm.
reunion.
Mm-hmm.
You tell yourself you've given your child a better life, and the reality is it's a different life. I'm not going to speak for them because it's their story, but we know that adoptees and birth moms both, the research is clear. Adoptees are 35 times more likely to take their own life. Birth moms are 37 times more likely to take their own life. And that just reflects my experience of just the toll on mental health that
Yeah.
adoption and the trauma has taken.
This happened in the 90s. You said what your experience has been working with other birth moms or adoptees. Do you see the changes that have been made and are they for the better?
No, I feel like I'm really excited that people are actually having a conversation about adoption. While I know it was a probably a really painful experience for you to have so many people commenting on your posts, it showed me that there's some awareness, right? That adoption is very traumatic.
Mm-hmm.
For children to be separated from their moms at birth is obviously it's trauma for a mom, but it's so damaging to children. We do better rehoming dogs than we do babies.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I do believe that open adoption has hopefully helped some of the adoptees learning about their background and having some sort of relationship. This isn't something to feel shameful about, something that can be celebrated. Everybody has their own unique story. And I believe that there can be happiness around that. It's just a matter of how that is put together, I guess.
It matters a lot how things are presented, especially to kids.
Mm-hmm.
Because, of course, the adoptive parents had sent me a letter. So after I got married, I had sent a picture of me and my husband and a little note saying, I'm married. I went on my honeymoon in Carmel, California. That's where this picture is. And I just wanted them to know, like, I'm happy and I'm okay. One of the questions that my child asked me after we reunited, one of the first questions is, where did you and Paul go on your honeymoon? And I said, we went to Carmel. Why? They said, well, you sent that letter to my parents. They showed it to me, and they were a kid, and they held it up to the light because the adoption agency had scratched everything out that could have identified anybody. So they had scratched out where we had our honeymoon. I don't even know why it mattered, except that I wasn't allowed to know. It
Mm-hmm.
really made me want to know. And I found that
Yes.
really interesting.
Just it's the unknown. Everybody wants to know their story. They want to know where they come from. They want to know their history. They want to know what makes them them. And I
Yes.
think if you hide that, there's shame around that. And I don't believe that anybody deserves to have that shame. There's already enough going on both sides of it. But I love the perspective that you can bring because I'm looking at it from somebody who's a hopeful adoptee and selfishly, like I'm hoping to give this child a better life than they could for the reasons that their mom is placing them. So I want to care for this child and give them the best opportunities and set them up for success. But I understand that there is going to be repercussions of that. as well. And so many people have mentioned, well, why don't you adopt an older child or whatnot? There's reasons why people adopt older children, and for us that's just not where we feel called to right now. Maybe someday that would be something we would explore, but it's also we want the experience of raising a child because we know there is so much trauma in that. We want to alleviate any of that that we could possibly. You never want anybody to hurt, so we want to alleviate any of that as we best could.
And I hear your intentions are so good. And I don't, the politics and the system of adoption is upsetting to me, which
Mhm.
isn't to say there won't always be a need for adoption, right? I'm
Yeah.
not one, because there are moms that are wanting to terminate rights. Not very many. I think the
Mhm.
statistic that Gretchen Sisson talks about in her book Relinquished, The Politics of Adoption or Politics of Motherhood, she talks about the fact that like 90% of birth moms would keep their child if they had as little as $5,000,
Mhm.
right? It's like
Mhm.
for me, it was a very permanent solution to a really temporary problem. Year after I gave him up, I think I could have kept him. Had
Mhm.
one person come alongside me and said, "Let me help you," it would have been a huge
Yeah.
difference.